Welcome to the Farming Without the Bank podcast, the show with a no BS approach to money, hosted by a farm strategy expert and authorized IBC practitioner. Join us as we get real and expose the flaws of traditional financial institutions in order to help farmers take control of their finances, create peace of mind, grow their wealth, and leave a legacy. Now, here's your host, Mary Jo Ehrman.
Hello, and welcome back to today's podcast. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it as always. Hey, I was talking to a client today, which led to this week's podcast. Yes, I don't always prepare. I love it when you guys give me ideas of stuff to talk about. And I love it when I can meet with clients and we can just have conversation because so many good questions and topics come from that. So I was talking to a client that he has a employee working for him. And his question was, can I get a policy for my employee because I don't believe in 401ks? And can he have a policy as a retirement plan that I either own or contribute to? And I do believe that I've talked about that before. And the question is, yes, absolutely, you can. You can decide if you want to own it. You can decide if they should own it. You can decide if you own it and put money into it. Do you want them to have access to the cash value? And how much of the cash value can they have access to and all that good stuff? But another question he had was, and really today, I just touched on that, but I really want to talk a lot kind of about estate planning because that's what he and I ended up talking a lot about, even though those were not his original question. That wasn't his original intention of his question. But a lot of what I do with my clients comes back to estate planning. And ways of estate planning that we are never, ever taught to think about. So his other question to me was, well, my wife is getting paid from my in-laws because my brother-in-law is getting the farm. So we want to put that money on policies on the kids. Now, I have actually had this scenario come up a lot lately. And as much as that is a great intention, is it in the long run creating what we want? So if grandpa and grandma are giving us money and we want to make sure we can have policies on the kids so that when the kids get old, they have this money. If we do that and we put policies on the kids, it's going to take that policy, 20 to 25 years to break even. It's going to be a very slow growing policy because they are minors. Now, if the intent is to leave them better off, wouldn't we be better off to buy a policy on ourselves, on mom and dad? And if the kids need the money throughout life, we can lend it to them. But then when we pass away, we're giving them $1 that we maybe paid 20 or 30 cents for, and they get that income tax free. So not only did we take mom and dad's money, but we actually created more wealth than we ever would have by buying life insurance on us. Do they have to wait a little longer to get that money? They do, to get the new dollar value. But if we are good stewards of our money, we have cash value there to lend them to use for college, to buy cars, to get married, to start businesses, to farm, right? We have that money to lend them, which is what our intent was anyway. Well, we want to buy a policy on the kids so that they have money to do all these things. When in fact, they would have the money, they just have to borrow it from us and they can just pay us back. And then it just goes into a policy on us that leaves them more death benefit. So if we're thinking about how do we maximize something for the kids, well, let's maximize it by putting it on us. Now, in this particular scenario, his kids already have policies. But I do suggest as well that you still get a policy on your minor child, because we don't know at some point in life, will that minor child develop some sort of a health issue or something where they would become uninsurable. But he already has insurance on his children. And the next comment he made to me was, not only are we buying the farm with every generation, but the bank is getting interest from this purchase with every generation. Interest from the inputs, interest from the equipment. And that's exactly right. The bank is getting wealthy because we are not estate planning. It absolutely kills me when I talk to a client and they say, well, mom and dad don't want to talk about estate planning because it's none of our business what's going to happen. I get it, people. I 100% understand. Remember, I come from a farm family. We have all the same issues I'm speaking of. Here is my response back. I don't care what you do with your money. I don't care what you do with your estate. But if you don't want everything that you have worked so hard to build lost when you pass away, then you may want to go see an attorney and do some estate planning, right? Do some education on estate planning. This is not just it's automatic, it's going to go to the next family. We are losing farms generation by generation by generation, and we are blaming this on what? The current generation, that they don't know how to do it. Now, I beg to differ. I am a very firm believer. We have generations, and we do every time commodity prices are low, we have the current generation of that time committing suicide due to the fact that they financially can't make it. What caused them to not be able to make it? Are they having to buy the siblings out? Are they financially not understanding or keeping books? That's a whole different story. What happened? Some bad luck, whatever happened. But at the end of the day, if it is because we are not passing down a farm with estate planning and we're constantly having to rebuy it, leaving the next generation with more debt than the generation before, how do we get out of that cycle? By visiting an attorney, doing some estate planning, and including life insurance in that plan. Good whole life, not crappy universal, variable indexed, not term insurance. Whole life insurance that we know is going to be there and it's going to grow every single year in death benefit to keep up with the cost of the land, hopefully, depending on where you're at. These are things we need to look at. It's funny how everything I talk about basically comes back to estate planning. And new people in meetings typically will say, well, that's not what I'm here for. I'm not here to talk about estate planning. Are you farming with dad? Yep. Planning to take over? Yep. Then we're talking about estate planning. We are going to talk about some sort of planning. No question. It is going to be a topic because I want to see, is there a plan? Do we have to make plan B? What does that all look like? This craziness has to stop. But these are of craziness of making the bank wealthy, right? And then he and I went on to talk about who else is very wealthy, John Deere, and how they can turn money. And they act like they're helping the farmer, but they're really just causing more inflation. Do we need to have new equipment all the time? Do we need to have the latest and the greatest? If it does not financially make sense, if commodity prices are low, then you shouldn't be buying it. But these are all awesome conversations that I get to have with clients when I visit with them. And that was today's conversation. Really just, us solving the world problems. But the farm world problems tend to be the same problems I've talked to thousands of farmers about. And yes, I've talked to over 1,000 farmers. So it's always funny to me when people say, well, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't farm. Okay. So you do go to that banker who doesn't farm for money, right? You do put money in an IRA with a financial advisor that doesn't do anything with farming, right? I mean, come on, people. I've talked to 1,000 farmers. I see their numbers. Most everybody is doing the same thing. It is rare to find somebody that is actually doing some estate planning correctly, keeping their books like they're supposed to be, and managing it like a business. Maybe I'm not seeing all those guys, but it is rare for me to see that. Now, I see books, and I can see people are keeping their numbers, but are we still running it like a business? What enterprise is profitable? Is it corn? Is it beans? I've had people say, well, I have to have cattle because then it helps on the years when the grain is down and vice versa. I don't care how you do it. I just want to make sure that we're looking at our books so that we know what's profitable. And then we're creating an estate plan. Then we are talking to our family about what's going on and not just hoping and praying that it all works out in the end. Or we're too chicken, you know what, to talk to somebody and have that hard conversation that says, hey, Junior, if you're not going to manage money and you're going to frivolously spend money, you're not inheriting this place. You're not managing it, right? And dad being in that same circumstance, well, you're not managing it, dad, and so you're upset because a kid is wanting to look at the numbers and wanting to see the numbers. Well, he wants to see it because he wants to run it like a business. And so there are a lot of discrepancies amongst families. Not everybody's going to see eye to eye, but wouldn't you rather see eye to eye or try to see eye to eye and know who's going to be the vulture before you pass away versus letting it rip the family apart and lose the farm you worked so hard to build? It is important for us to talk. And people might think, well, Mary Jo, you're just consumed by this. Well, I am a little bit consumed. I talk to farmers all day long, every day. And the stories I hear, few of them are good. Lots of them are bad. And it is disheartening when it is such an easy problem to solve. Just solve it. Just talk to each other. Just do a little bit of estate planning. Buy some life insurance. Hand off some discounted dollars. See an attorney. Talk to the accountant. Have your books ready. Like, they're all things none of us like to do. I don't like to do it. But it's something that has to be done if we own a business. And farming is a business. Okay, folks. That was kind of some mumbling, but I don't know why that I just felt like we needed to talk about it more. Put it in front of people. Obviously, it came up several times today talking to people. These very same subjects came up. So here I am sharing with you, you lucky listener. Okay, let me know, as always, if you need anything. I'm happy to help, happy to answer questions. If you are an organization looking for somebody to do some speaking, please let me know. I would be happy to come in and speak and, just share the information with farmers. They're obviously looking, we've sold more than 10,000 copies of the book. Farmers are looking for solutions because they're tired of spinning their wheels. And so if you have a conference or something coming up, please reach out. I would be happy to share the information. Let me know, Mary Jo at withoutthebank.com. If you have not gotten the book, you can get that at farmingwithoutthebank.com, and you can grab Farming Without the Bank. If you're a non-farmer, you can grab Life Without the Bank. And then you can get Nelson Nash's book as well if you want to dive into everything and find out the truth. Okay, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you next week. Have a good one.
Thanks for listening to the Farming Without the Bank podcast. We hope today's episode has inspired you to take control of your finances in new ways. Don't forget to check out our website, farmingwithoutthebank.com, and engage with us on our Facebook page. Farming Without the Bank. Join us next week as we smash more financial myths and empower you to accomplish your financial goals.